You are a Russian T-95 bomber pilot. You are flying a nuclear-capable aircraft through the Arctic, 200 miles from Canadian airspace. Your radar is clean. No intercept, no threat signature. No Canadian jets anywhere. You think you are alone. You are not. This is not a hypothetical. This is the scenario that Russian Bomber Command is going to face within the next few years, and there is nothing they can do to prepare for it, because the threat they will be facing is, by design, invisible. Canada is in the process of acquiring 88 F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters to replace its aging CF-18 Hornets. The price tag has climbed to 27.7 billion Canadian dollars. That is the largest fighter procurement in Canadian history. And the reason Ottawa is spending that kind of money, the reason defense officials have described the program as full steam ahead, is not politics. It is not alliance pressure. It is Russia. Specifically, it is Russian bomber crews who have been probing NORAD's Arctic air defense zones at a rate that American and Canadian military commanders have publicly stated is above historical norms. The NORAD chief told Congress that Russian activity near Canada and the United States is increasing. In 2025 alone, NORAD executed over 500 scrambles across NATO airspace. Russian T-95s and T-160s, nuclear-capable, long-range strategic bombers, have been pushing into the Alaskan and Canadian air defense zones repeatedly, sometimes alongside Chinese H-6 bombers, testing the response, mapping the gaps, looking for the weakness. They have been finding the weakness. Until now. Here's the problem that Canada's CF-18 Hornets create, and it is a problem for Canada, not for Russia. When NORAD detects a Russian bomber approaching the ADIZ, Canada scrambles CF-18s to intercept. The CF-18 screams north, afterburners lit, crosses hundreds of miles of Arctic wilderness, and pulls alongside the Russian T-95 for a visual identification. It is a show of force. It is a message. But here's what the Russian bomber crew knows that most people watching from the ground do not. They can see the CF-18 coming. The CF-18 is a fourth-generation fighter. It has a radar cross-section that Russian early warning systems can detect from significant range. When a Canadian interceptor is airborne and heading north, the Russian crew gets information. They learn how long the scramble takes. They learn what the response looks like. They learn where the intercept happens, which tells them something about where the coverage thins out. They learn the rhythm of Canada's Arctic air defense. Every intercept the CF-18 has performed against a Russian bomber has given Russian Bomber Command a data point. Over years of probing, and the probing has been consistent, Russia has built a detailed picture of exactly how NORAD responds, exactly where the CF-18's range limitations create gaps, and exactly which corridors give a bomber crew the most time before contact.
Russia has been studying the playbook. They have been reading Canada like a map. The F-35 burns the map. Think about what that means for a second. Everything Russia learned about Canada's Arctic air defense over the last 15 years becomes worthless the moment the first F-35 enters service. The F-35's stealth is not just about being hard to shoot down. That is the part that gets attention in most coverage. But for Canada's Arctic mission, the operational significance of stealth goes much deeper than survivability. The F-35A has a radar cross-section that is reduced to near-invisible levels in the frequencies that Russian early warning and targeting systems operate in. What this means practically is that when a Canadian F-35 is airborne and heading toward a Russian bomber, the Russian crew does not get a radar return. They do not see a blip. Their threat warning system stays quiet. As far as their instruments are concerned, the sky is empty. But they are being intercepted. The Canadian pilot has a full targeting solution. The F-35's ANPG-81 radar, one of the most capable airborne sensors ever built, is painting the T-95 from long range. The distributed aperture system is feeding the pilot a 360-degree infrared picture of the airspace. The F-35 is tracking everything. It knows exactly where the Russian aircraft is, what it is doing, and what its options are. The Russian crew knows none of this. They cannot know. They have no sensor that can find what Canada is putting in the air. This is the trap, not a weapons trap, a psychological one.
Here is what makes defense analysts in Moscow genuinely uncomfortable about Canada's F-35 acquisition, and it is not the aircraft's weapons. It is the uncertainty. Right now, Russian bomber crews flying into the ADIZ operate with a level of baseline confidence. They know they will be intercepted. They know what the intercept looks like. They know the CF-18 will pull alongside and photograph them, and they will photograph the CF-18, and everyone goes home. It is a ritual. It is almost comfortable in its predictability. With F-35s in the Canadian inventory, that comfort disappears entirely. The Russian crew enters the ADIZ, and their radar is clean, no threat. But are they being tracked? They do not know. Is an intercept already in progress? They cannot tell. Is there a Canadian pilot right now pulling up beside them in the dark with a full weapon solution, watching them from a distance their sensors cannot detect? Probably yes, and they will never know for certain. This is what the military calls degrading the adversary's situational awareness. It sounds like jargon. What it actually means is that Russia's bomber crews fly into the Arctic not knowing if they are alone or surrounded. That uncertainty changes behavior. It compresses the envelope of what Russia is willing to risk. It makes the probing missions more dangerous because the crew can no longer read the room. Now, add the geography, because this is where Canada's specific situation makes the F-35 even more effective than it would be almost anywhere else on Earth. The Canadian Arctic is vast in a way that is genuinely difficult to process. Canada's northern approaches cover millions of square miles of ocean, ice, and wilderness. The distances involved make traditional air defense, the kind built around ground radar coverage and short scramble times, extremely difficult to sustain. Russia has historically exploited this. The distances mean that response windows are tight, and any gap in coverage is a genuine vulnerability. Canada is addressing this. Arctic forward operating locations at Inuvik and Yellowknife are being upgraded specifically to support F-35 operations. Inuvik's runway is being extended to 9,000 feet by the end of this decade. New over-the-horizon radars are pushing detection range beyond line of sight. The P-8A maritime patrol aircraft is coming to extend surveillance into the ocean approaches. MQ-9 drones are being added to keep persistent eyes on corridors that fighters cannot permanently cover. But the F-35 changes the arithmetic of all of this, because an F-35 operating from Inuvik in the middle of a blizzard in total darkness at the edge of its combat radius is still invisible to the aircraft it is intercepting. The Arctic weather that grounds most aviation, the extreme cold, the zero visibility, the icing conditions, is the same weather the F-35 is certified and trained to operate in. Canada's NORAD chief has specifically pointed to operational users in Alaska and Wisconsin as evidence that cold climate F-35 operations work. The conditions that Russia might expect to provide cover for a bomber penetration are the same conditions that a Canadian F-35 can operate in without the Russian crew knowing it is there. Quick question for you. Do you think Canada knew Canada's CF-18 intercept patterns well enough to plan around them? Because the evidence suggests they did. Drop your answer in the comments. I'll come back to it at the end. Here is the piece that most coverage on Canada's F-35 purchase completely misses. The F-35 is not just a stealth aircraft. It is a networked node in an intelligence system that shares targeting data in real time between every other F-35 in the sky and every sensor connected to the NORAD network. The data link system, the Multifunction Advanced Data Link, or MADL, is a low-probability-of-intercept communication system, which means not only can Russian sensors not see the F-35, they also cannot intercept the data the F-35 is broadcasting to other aircraft and to NORAD ground stations. What this creates is a picture that Russia cannot map and cannot jam.
Imagine 88 F-35s distributed across Canada's northern approaches, each one invisible, each one sharing everything it sees with every other jet in the network, and with NORAD's command structure. A Russian Tu-95 enters the ADIZ, and within seconds, multiple F-35s have a targeting solution on it. The Tu-95 crew sees nothing. NORAD sees everything. The bomber is the only actor in that airspace that does not know what is happening around it. This is not theoretical. This is what the F-35 fleet is being specifically purchased to do. Canadian defense officials have been explicit that NORAD interoperability, the ability to network Canadian F-35s directly into American F-35s and into the broader NORAD sensor architecture, is a core justification for the purchase. The U.S. ambassador to Canada warned publicly that if Canada abandoned the F-35, NORAD interoperability would be damaged. Not because of politics, because the data link that makes this invisible network function requires everyone to be flying the same aircraft. Russia's Bomber Command is not facing 88 Canadian jets. It is facing 88 Canadian nodes in a continental air defense network that can see everything and show nothing. So, back to the question from earlier. Did Russia know Canada's CF-18 intercept patterns well enough to plan around them? Almost certainly yes. 15 years of ADIZ probing at increasing frequency, including joint missions with Chinese bombers testing whether the Allied response would hold, strongly suggests Russia was doing exactly that, gathering data, building a picture of Canada's rhythms, gaps, and response times. That picture is now obsolete. The moment Canada's F-35s reach operational capability, Russian Bomber Command loses the intelligence they spent 15 years building. They lose the ability to probe for gaps because they can no longer tell when their probe is being monitored. They lose the ability to map response times because they cannot see the response. They lose the operational confidence that came from knowing what Canada's air defense looked like from the cockpit. What replaces it is something much harder to fly against: uncertainty. The knowledge that somewhere in the Arctic, in the dark and the cold and the blizzard conditions, there are Canadian jets that cannot be seen, cannot be jammed, and are sharing everything they see with a continental network that never sleeps. That is the trap. Not a missile, not a weapons system. The trap is that Russia's bombers can no longer trust the silence. They cannot know what the clean radar return means anymore. And for a military that has built its Arctic deterrence strategy around probing and learning and mapping the enemy's response, the inability to read the room is the most dangerous environment of all. Canada spent $27.7 billion to make 3.8 million square miles of Arctic airspace unreadable to Moscow. That is what terrifies Russia's Bomber Command. Now here is the question that the F-35 purchase raises that nobody in Ottawa is fully answering yet. Does Canada build the same niche edge into the F-35 that it had with the CF-18? Canadian CF-18 community developed independent electronic warfare modifications over decades that made Canadian jets operationally distinct from their American counterparts, distinct enough that a Canadian pilot commanded a U.S. strike package over Iraq because of it. Does the F-35 allow that kind of independent specialization, or does Canada become just another node in an American-designed network, capable but no longer distinctively Canadian in its edge? That is the next video, and the answer is more complicated than the defense procurement documents suggest. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Drop your thoughts on Canada's F-35 decision in the comments. Is 88 jets enough? Or is Canada still leaving gaps in the Arctic that Russia can exploit?